The morning sun cast long shadows across the red dirt of Kepler 442b as Hyun-woo loaded the last supply crate onto his hover truck. The frontier colony world was harsh and unforgiving, but it had become home to him over the past 5 years. His hydroponic farm sat 40 kilometers from the nearest settlement, a lonely outpost that fed 3 neighboring colonies with fresh vegetables and grain. Hyun-woo wiped sweat from his forehead and checked his supply list one more time. Medical supplies, equipment parts, and enough food to last 2 weeks. The isolation never bothered him much. He preferred the quiet company of his plants and the gentle hum of the farming machinery to the constant chatter of colony life. As he climbed into the driver's seat, something caught his eye near the eastern fence line. A dark shape lay motionless against the metal posts, too large to be debris blown by the wind. Han-woo squinted in the bright morning light, trying to make out what it was. His heart skipped when the shape moved slightly. Hyun-woo grabbed his emergency kit and jogged toward the fence. As he got closer, his steps slowed. The creature before him was unlike anything he had ever seen on this world. It looked like a massive Volf, but walked upright like a person. Its fur was silver gray with darker markings, and it wore some kind of leather armor that was torn and bloodied. The alien Volf being was clearly female and heavily pregnant. Her breathing was shallow and rapid, and dark blood pooled beneath her body. Multiple wounds covered her arms and legs, and a particularly nasty gash ran along her left side. Hyun-woo had never encountered this species before, but every human instinct told him the same thing. This was a mother in desperate need of help. He knelt beside her carefully, not wanting to startle her if she was still conscious. Her eyes were closed, but her ears twitched slightly at his approach. Up close, he could see the intelligence in her features, the careful craftsmanship of her damaged armor, and the obvious signs of a warrior who had fought hard before falling. "Easy there," Hyun-woo whispered, though he doubted she could understand him. "I'm going to help you." The alien's eyes snapped open, revealing bright amber irises that fixed on his face. For a moment, neither moved. Then her lips pulled back, showing sharp canine teeth, and a low growl rumbled in her throat. Hyun-woo raised his hand slowly. "I know you cannot understand me, but I want to help. You are hurt badly." The growling stopped. Her eyes moved from his face to his hands, then to the medical kit beside him. Something in her expression changed, and the tension in her muscles relaxed slightly. "That is right," Hyun-woo said softly. "I am not going to hurt you or your baby." He opened the medical kit and pulled out a scanner. The device was designed for human biology, but it might give him some basic information about her condition. As he moved the scanner over her body, the readings showed massive blood loss, several broken ribs, and signs of extreme exhaustion. The alien watched him work, her amber eyes never leaving his face. When he accidentally brushed against a particularly painful wound, she hissed, but did not try to bite or claw him. Hyun-woo made a decision that would change his life forever. He could not treat her properly out here in the open, and she was too heavy to carry. He would have to bring his hover truck closer and get her to his medical bay. "Stay here," he told her, pointing to the ground. "I will be right back." He ran to his truck and drove it as close to the fence as possible. The alien had not moved, though her breathing seemed even more labored than before. Time was running out. Working as gently as possible, Hyun-woo managed to lift her onto a stretcher and secure her in the back of the truck. She was heavier than he expected, her muscle mass far greater than a human woman of similar size. Throughout the process, she remained conscious but passive, as if she had decided to trust him. The ride back to his farm took only minutes, but it felt like hours. Every bump in the road made her grunt in pain, and Hyun-woo found himself talking to her constantly, hoping his voice might provide some comfort. "Almost there," he said. "My medical bay is not much, but it is clean and well equipped. I have treated injured animals before, and mammals are mammals, right?" Her ears twitched at the sound of his voice, and he thought he saw something like amusement in her eyes. The medical bay was attached to his main living quarters, originally designed for treating livestock and the occasional human injury. "Hyun-woo," had upgraded it over the years with better equipment. Never imagining he would use it to save an alien life, he transferred her to the examination table and immediately began working to stop the bleeding. His knowledge of veterinary medicine proved invaluable as he cleaned wounds, applied synthetic skin patches, and administered broad-spectrum antibiotics that should work on most carbon-based life forms. The alien remained conscious throughout most of the treatment, watching his every move with those intelligent amber eyes. When he had to work on the deep gash along her side, she gripped the edges of the table so hard her claws left marks in the metal. "I know it hurts," Hyun-woo murmured as he sealed the wound. "But this will help you heal faster." Hours passed before he was satisfied with his work. The alien's vital signs had stabilized, and her breathing was deeper and more regular. Exhaustion finally claimed her, and she fell into what appeared to be natural sleep. Hyun-woo set up monitoring equipment and made sure she was comfortable before stepping back to survey his work. In the space of one morning, he had gone from a simple farmer to the caretaker of an injured alien warrior. He had no idea who she was, where she came from, or what had hurt her so badly. He did not know if her people were friendly or hostile, or if helping her would bring trouble to his quiet life. But as he watched her sleep peacefully for the first time in who knew how long, Hyun-woo felt something he had not experienced in years: purpose. For the first time since arriving on this world, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be, doing exactly what he was meant to do. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, but tonight a mother and her unborn child were safe. 3 days passed before the alien warrior opened her eyes again. Hyun-woo had barely left her side, checking her vital signs every few hours and adjusting her 4 fluids. His farm's automated systems, controlled by his AI assistant Taemin, had kept the crops growing while he focused entirely on his unexpected patient. When she finally stirred, her amber eyes immediately found his face. This time there was no growling or signs of fear. Instead, she studied him with an expression of deep curiosity. "You are awake," Hyun-woo said gently, setting down the medical scanner he had been using. "How do you feel?" She tilted her head at the sound of his voice, her ears moving forward in what seemed like interest. Then she did something that surprised him completely. She spoke. "You helped me." Her voice was rough and accented, but the words were clearly in the common trade language used throughout the galaxy. "Why?" Hyun-woo blinked in surprise. "You speak our language." "Many languages," she replied, struggling to sit up. "Trade routes require communication." He quickly moved to help her, adjusting the bed so she could rest more comfortably. "Take it easy. You lost a lot of blood? Your wounds are healing well, but you need rest." She looked down at her bandaged body, then at her swollen belly. Her expression grew worried. "My cubs? Your babies are fine," Hyun-woo assured her. "Strong heartbeats, good movement. They should be born soon, I think." Relief flooded her features. "You know of birth?" "I have delivered calves and foals on farms," he said. "Not the same as your species, but life is life." She studied his face for a long moment. "I am Nara of the Silver Moon Pack." "You are?" "Hyun-woo, just Hyun-woo. I grow food here." "Hyun-woo," she repeated, testing the name. "You saved my life." "You saved my cubs? This creates obligation?" Something in her tone made him cautious. "No obligation needed. I helped because you needed help." Nara's ears flattened slightly. "You do not understand. Among my people, when someone saves a mother and her unborn cubs, they become pack, they become family." Before Hyun-woo could respond to this startling information, Nara suddenly gasped and doubled over, her hands gripping her belly. "What is wrong?" he asked, immediately reaching for his medical equipment. "The cubs," she panted. "They come now." Hyun-woo's mind raced. He had helped deliver farm animals, but never an alien species. He had no idea what complications might arise or what was normal for her people. "Tell me what to do," he said, fighting down his panic. "Guide me through this." Nara gritted her teeth as another contraction hit. "Hot water, clean cloths, and your hands must be very clean." For the next 6 hours, Hyun-woo found himself serving as midwife to an alien birth. Nara was incredibly strong, enduring pain that would have broken a human, but she was also frightened. This was clearly her first pregnancy, and being away from her pack made everything more difficult. "You are doing great," Hyun-woo encouraged her, wiping sweat from her forehead with a damp cloth. "The first cub is almost here." When the first cub finally arrived, Hyun-woo was amazed by how tiny and perfect it was. The newborn looked like a miniature version of its mother, covered in wet silver fur and crying with surprising volume. "A daughter," Nara whispered, tears streaming down her face as Hyun-woo placed the cleaned cub in her arms. The second cub followed 20 minutes later, a slightly larger male with darker markings. Both babies were healthy and immediately began nursing, their tiny hands gripping their mother's fur. "Boram and Minho," Nara said softly, naming her children. "They are perfect." Hyun-woo cleaned up the medical bay, giving the new family some privacy. He was exhausted but filled with wonder. In all his years as a farmer, he had never experienced anything as powerful as helping bring new life into the world. When he returned to check on them, he found Nara sitting up in bed, nursing both cubs while looking around the room with new eyes. "This place," she said suddenly, "it smells of safety." "Of home. It is just a medical bay," Hyun-woo replied. "No." Her voice was firm and there was something ceremonial in her tone. "This is where my cubs were born. This is where you risked everything to save us. By the ancient laws of my people, I claim this place as sacred den ground." Hyun-woo felt a chill run down his spine. "What does that mean exactly?" Nara looked at him with those intelligent amber eyes. "It means this barn, this place where my cubs first breathed, now belongs to me and them. It is our lair, our sanctuary. No force in the galaxy can make us leave without our permission." "But this is my farm," Hyun-woo said weakly. "Yes," Nara agreed, "and now it is also our den. We share it. You are packed now, Hyun-woo. You helped birth my cubs. You are their second father." Hyun-woo sat down heavily in a chair, trying to process what she was telling him. "What about your mate, your original pack?" For the first time since waking up, Nara looked uncertain. "They will come looking for me. When they find me here, with cubs born in your den." She paused. "It will be complicated." "Complicated how?" "They will not understand why I do not come home with them immediately. They will not understand why I claim human territory as sacred ground." She looked down at her nursing cubs. "But the law is the law. This is now our place and you are now our family." Over the next few days, as Nara recovered her strength and the cubs grew bigger and more active, Hyun-woo began to understand just how much his life had changed. The alien mother treated his barn like her personal territory, arranging furniture to her liking and establishing routines that accommodated both human and alien needs. She was respectful but firm about her claim to the space. When Hyun-woo needed to access equipment stored in the barn, she would watch him carefully, as if evaluating whether he posed any threat to her cubs. But she was also incredibly helpful. Her enhanced senses allowed her to detect problems with his crops before his instruments could, and her knowledge of various worlds gave him insights into improving his farming techniques. "Your soil needs more copper in the eastern field," she told him one morning while the cubs slept in a nest she had made from old blankets. "How can you tell?" he asked. "I can smell it. My people are traders and travelers. We learn to read the land." As the days passed, Hyun-woo found himself growing attached to the strange little family that had claimed his barn. The cubs were endlessly entertaining, tumbling over each other and exploring their new world with boundless curiosity. Nara was intelligent and surprisingly funny, with stories of distant worlds and alien cultures that fascinated him, but in quiet moments, he worried about what would happen when her pack arrived. Would they understand her decision to stay? Would they accept him as family, or would they see him as a threat to be eliminated? One evening, as he watched Nara teach her cubs to walk on their hind legs, she looked up at him with a serious expression. "They will come soon," she said quietly. "My mate will track me here. When that happens, you must trust me." "Let me speak for you. Let me explain." Hyun-woo nodded, though his stomach twisted with anxiety. "What if they do not accept your explanation?" Nara's eyes hardened. Then they will learn that a mother defending her den is the most dangerous force in the universe. As if summoned by her words, a long howl echoed across the plains in the distance. Then another. And another. The pack had found them. The howls grew closer as darkness fell across the farm. Hen Wu could see Nara's entire body tense as she recognized the voices of her pack. She gathered her cubs closer, wrapping them in soft blankets while they whimpered softly. "How many are coming?" Hyun Woo asked, checking the security monitors around his property. 4, maybe 5, Nara replied, her ears twitching as she listened to sounds beyond human hearing. "My mate Junho leads them. His lieutenant Yinji will be with him, and probably the tracker Wu Jin. Are they dangerous?" Nara looked at him with something between sadness and determination. "They are warriors. They have been searching for me for weeks, thinking I was captured or killed. When they find me here, safe and with newborn cubs, ... She paused. They will not understand at first." Through the window, Hyunwoo could see shapes moving in the darkness beyond his fence line. Large, powerful forms that moved with predatory grace. His heart hammered in his chest, but he tried to stay calm for Nara's sake. "Remember what I told you," she said urgently. "Let me speak first. Do not make any sudden movements. And whatever happens, do not try to protect me. It will only make things worse." Before Hyun-woo could respond, a thunderous roar shook the entire barn. The cubs whimpered and pressed closer to their mother, while outside the security lights revealed 3 massive Volf-like aliens approaching the main building, the largest of them. Clearly the leader was even more imposing than Nara. His dark gray fur was marked with scars from countless battles, and his armor was more elaborate and decorated than anything Hyun-woo had seen. This had to be Junho, Nara. The Alpha's voice boomed across the farm. "Where are you?" "Here," Nara called back, her voice strong despite her obvious nervousness. "I am in the human's den with our cubs." The silence that followed was more terrifying than any roar. Hyun-woo could practically feel the confusion and anger radiating from the pack outside. "Cubs?" Junho's voice was dangerously quiet. "You bore our cubs in an alien's lair?" "Yes," Nara replied firmly. "And I claim this place as sacred ground. The human Hyun-woo saved my life and helped deliver our children. By ancient law, he is now pack." The roar that followed made the windows rattle. "You dare claim alien territory as our sacred space? You dare name a human as pack?" Hyun-woo heard heavy footsteps approaching the barn door. His hands shook as he watched the entrance, knowing that his life might depend on the next few minutes. The door burst open and Junho filled the doorway. He was even more impressive up close, standing nearly 7 feet tall with muscles that rippled under his battle-scarred fur. His yellow eyes immediately locked onto Hyun-woo, and the human could see pure fury burning in their depths. "This is the human," Junho snarled, taking a step forward. "Stop," Nara commanded, standing up with both cubs cradled in her arms. "He is under my protection. He is packed now." 2 more aliens entered behind Junho. The female, who must be Yunji, was slightly smaller but no less dangerous looking. Her armor was marked with symbols that suggested high rank, and her green eyes studied Hyun-woo with obvious suspicion. The 3rd alien, probably Wu Jin, was younger and leaner, built for speed rather than power. He kept sniffing the air, his nose wrinkling as he processed the complex scents of the barn. "I smell birth," Wu Jin said quietly. "Recent birth and happiness, contentment." Junho's ears flattened against his head. "Show me the cubs." Nara stepped forward proudly, pulling back the blankets to reveal Bo-Ram and Min-ho. Both cubs were awake now, staring at the newcomers with curious amber eyes that matched their mother's. The change in Junho was immediate and startling. All the anger and aggression melted away as he gazed at his children for the first time. His voice became soft and wondering. "They are beautiful," he whispered. "Perfect." "Yes," Nara agreed. "And they were born here in this safe place with this human's help." Bo-Ram was breech. She would have died without his knowledge of birth. Min-ho was tangled in his cord. Hyun-woo saved them both. Junho's yellow eyes fixed on Hyunwoo again, but now there was confusion rather than anger. You helped deliver my cubs? I did what anyone would do, Hyunwoo replied, trying to keep his voice steady. They needed help. Anyone would not. Yoonji spoke for the first time, her voice sharp. Most would have left her to die rather than risk involvement with unknown aliens. The human has medical knowledge, Woojin added, still sniffing around the room. I can smell medicines, healing, herbs, clean instruments. This place was used for healing, Nara nodded. He cared for me for days before the cubs came. Fed me, gave me medicine, stayed awake watching over me when I was near death. Junho was quiet for a long moment, studying both Hyunwoo and his mate. Finally, he spoke again. You claim this place as sacred den ground? I do, Nara replied without hesitation. This human risked everything to save me and our cubs. This barn is where they first breathed. By every law our people hold sacred, this is now our territory, but he is human, Yoonji protested. Not pack, not family. He became family when he helped birth my cubs, Nara shot back. The law is clear on this. Junho walked slowly around the room, examining the medical equipment. The comfortable bed where Nara had recovered, the careful arrangements she had made for the cubs' safety. His expression was thoughtful rather than angry now. You were dying. When you arrived here, he asked his mate. Yes, bleeding, broken ribs, infections starting. Without his help, I would have died within hours. The cubs too, and he asked for nothing in return? Nothing. He still asks for nothing. He simply helps because it is his nature to help. Junho stopped in front of Hyunwoo. The human forced himself to stand still and meet the alien's gaze, though every instinct screamed at him to run. You saved my mate and my cubs, Junho said slowly. Yes. You asked for no payment, no reward, no favor in return, no. And now my mate claims you as pack family. Hyunwoo glanced at Nara, who nodded encouragingly. She says that is your law. I do not fully understand it, but I respect it. Junho was quiet for another long moment. Then, to everyone's surprise, he began to laugh. It was a deep, rumbling sound that filled the barn. Yoonji, he said to his lieutenant, what does pack law say about humans who save pregnant mothers and help deliver cubs? Yoonji's expression was sour. That they become family, regardless of species? But surely that law was never meant to include aliens. Law is law, Junho replied firmly. And besides, he looked around the comfortable barn, I can think of worse places for cubs to grow up. This human clearly knows how to create a safe. Then, he turned back to Hyunwoo and extended one massive, clawed hand. I am Junho, Alpha of the Silver Moon Pack. If my mate says you are family, then you are family. Hyunwoo shook the offered hand, marveling at the strength in those fingers that could have crushed his bones without effort. Welcome to the pack, brother, Junho said with a grin that showed all his sharp teeth as the tension in the room finally began to ease. Hyunwoo realized that his quiet life as a simple farmer was truly over. But looking at Nara's relieved smile and the curious faces of the cubs, he found he did not mind at all. Outside, more howls echoed across the plains. The rest of the pack was still coming. 2 weeks after Junho's arrival, Hyunwoo's quiet farm had become the center of an interplanetary crisis. Word of the human-lycanthropic alliance had spread through both colonial networks and alien trade routes, creating confusion and concern. Among multiple species, Hyunwoo stood in his kitchen, preparing breakfast for his expanded household when his communication console chimed with an incoming message. The official seal of the colonial administration appeared on the screen, followed by the stern face of Administrator Hae-won. Citizen Hyunwoo, Hae-won began without preamble, I am sure you are aware that your current situation has attracted significant attention from colonial authorities. We need to discuss the implications of harboring armed alien warriors on human territory. Through the window, Hyunwoo could see Junho teaching his cubs how to track by scent while Nara supervised. From a comfortable chair in the morning sun, the scene looked peaceful and domestic, nothing like the dangerous situation the administrator seemed to imagine. They are not harbored, Hyunwoo replied carefully. They are family. Hey, one's expression grew more severe. Family or not, you have created a diplomatic incident. 3 more Lycanthropy packs arrived yesterday, claiming they need to verify the legitimacy of your arrangement. The settlement at New Seoul is demanding military protection, convinced they are about to be invaded. Before Hyun-woo could respond, the communication was interrupted by a new voice. Seung-min, the leader of the nearest human settlement, appeared on a split screen. Hyun-woo, you need to end this madness before people get hurt, Seung-min said urgently. My people are terrified. Armed aliens are gathering around your farm, and no one knows what they want. They want to understand what happened here, Hyun-woo explained. Nara's claim of sacred territory is unusual even among her people. They are trying to determine if it is legitimate. I do not care if it is legitimate, Haewon snapped. Human. Colonial law takes precedence over alien customs. You will inform these creatures that they must leave human space immediately. The kitchen door opened and Eunji entered with Woojin. Both aliens had clearly heard the conversation and their expressions were not friendly creatures. Eunji repeated, her voice dangerously low. Hyun-woo quickly gestured for them to stay calm. Administrator, I think there has been a misunderstanding. Perhaps if you met with the pack leaders, you could see that they mean no harm. Absolutely. Not, Haewon replied. Colonial policy is clear. Unauthorized alien settlements on human worlds are forbidden. You have 48 hours to resolve this situation, or we will resolve it for you. The screen went dark, leaving Hyun-woo alone with 2 very angry lycanthropes. They threaten us, Woojin observed, his young face twisted with indignation. They threaten pack cubs? Eunji added, and Hyun-woo could see her hand move instinctively toward her weapon. Please, Hyun-woo said quickly. Let me handle this. Violence will only make things worse. But as the day progressed, it became clear that the situation was spiraling beyond his control. More lycanthrope packs continued to arrive, not as invaders but as curious observers of this unprecedented situation. Each pack set up temporary camps at respectful distances from the farm, creating a ring of alien encampments that looked threatening to human eyes. Meanwhile, human colonial forces began gathering at New Seoul, preparing for what they assumed would be necessary military action. The breaking point came that evening when a shuttle landed near Hyun-woo's farm without permission. Colonial Marines in full combat armor emerged, led by a captain who clearly expected resistance. Jun-ho and his pack immediately responded to the perceived threat surrounding the barn where Nara and the cubs were resting. Other pack leaders emerged from their camps, creating a tense standoff in Hyun-woo's front yard. This is Captain Lee, the Marine leader announced through a loudspeaker. All alien forces will disperse immediately or face arrest. This is sacred ground, Jun-ho roared back. You have no authority here. Hyun-woo found himself running between the 2 groups, desperately trying to prevent violence that seemed increasingly inevitable. Captain Lee, he called out, these aliens are not invaders. They are here because of me, because of family obligations. Step aside, citizen, Captain Lee replied coldly. This is now a military matter. No, said a new voice, and everyone turned to see an elderly lycanthrope approaching from the eastern camps. She was smaller than the warriors, but carried herself with unmistakable authority. Ritual scars covered her arms, and her silver fur was marked with symbols of high rank. Elder Ki Yeon, Jun-ho said respectfully, bowing his head. I am Ki Yeon of the High Council, the elderly alien announced, addressing both humans and lycanthropes equally. I have come to investigate this unprecedented situation and determine the truth of what has occurred here. Captain Lee raised his weapon slightly. Elder or not, you are trespassing on human territory. Am I? Ki Yeon asked calmly. By whose law? Your human law recognizes property ownership, does it not? And pack law recognizes sacred den rights. The question is whether these 2 legal systems can coexist. She walked slowly through the crowd, examining the barn, the farm, and the various beings gathered around it. Her ancient eyes took in every detail, from the medical equipment visible through the barn windows to the cubs playing fearlessly among Warriors of two species. Tell me, human Haiyan-Wu, she said finally, do you wish the pack to leave your property? The question hung in the air like a challenge. Haiyan-Wu was acutely aware that his answer might determine whether this situation ended in peace or bloodshed. He looked at Nara, who was holding both cubs protectively. He thought about the past weeks, watching Bio Ram and Minho grow stronger each day, learning their first words in both human and lycanthan languages. He remembered Junho teaching him tracking techniques and Unji showing him how to identify edible plants from a dozen different worlds. No, he said firmly, this is their home now too, they are family. Ki-Yan nodded slowly. And you, Alpha Junho? If the humans demand that you leave, will you go? Junho's expression was resolute. My cubs were born here. My mate has claimed this ground as sacred. We will not leave unless the Den Father asks us to go. Den Father? Captain Lee asked, confused. It is what they call me, Haiyan-Wu explained. Because I helped deliver the cubs. Ki-Yan smiled, showing teeth that were still sharp despite her age. Then we have an interesting legal puzzle. Human law says this human owns this land. Pack law says this pack has sacred rights to this den. Both laws are recognized by their respective peoples. She turned to address the gathered crowd of humans and aliens. I propose a solution that honors both legal traditions. Let this place become the first officially recognized interspecies sanctuary. Let the human Haiyan-Wu serve as both landowner, under human law, and Den Father under pack law. Let this be a place where both species can coexist and learn from each other. Captain Lee shook his head. Colonial administration will never approve such an arrangement. Then perhaps it is time for colonial administration to expand their thinking, Ki-Yan replied smoothly. The galaxy is large, Captain. There will be many more situations like this as our species encounter each other. Better to establish peaceful precedents now than fight wars later. As if summoned by her words, Haiyan-Wu's communication console chimed again. This time, the screen showed not just Administrator Haewon, but several other officials and what appeared to be a panel of legal experts. We have been monitoring the situation, Haewon announced. After extensive legal consultation, we are prepared to discuss terms for a provisional agreement. Haiyan-Wu felt a surge of hope. What kind of terms? Temporary recognition of your property as a special administrative zone, subject to regular inspections and strict behavioral guidelines for all alien residents. In exchange, the lycanthans would provide cultural liaison services and assist with agricultural development programs. Junho and Ki-Yan exchanged glances before the elder spoke. These terms are acceptable as a starting point for negotiation. But understand, humans, this is not charity. My people are skilled traders, engineers, and explorers. We offer valuable partnerships, not just peaceful coexistence. As the sun set over the farm, representatives from both species began the complex process of drafting an agreement that would satisfy everyone involved. Han-Wu watched the negotiations from his porch, holding Minho while Bo-Ram slept in her mother's arms. Are you worried? Nara asked quietly. Haiyan-Wu considered the question. A month ago, his biggest concern had been whether his tomatoes would ripen properly. Now he was at the center of interspecies diplomacy, with the potential to influence how humans and aliens interacted throughout the galaxy. No, he said finally. Whatever happens, we will face it together. In the distance, human officials and lycanthan elders continued their careful negotiations, laying the groundwork for a new kind of future. The negotiations had been going on for 3 days, and tempers were beginning to fray. Human officials wanted detailed regulations and oversight committees. Lycanthan elders demanded respect for ancient laws and cultural autonomy. Both sides seemed more interested in protecting their principles than finding practical solutions. Han-Wu sat in his kitchen, listening to the heated debates taking place in his barn, which had been converted into a temporary meeting hall. Through the window, he could see cubs from multiple packs playing together while their parents argued about legal frameworks and territorial boundaries. This is ridiculous, he muttered to himself, watching Bo-Ram try to teach a human child from the settlement how to howl properly. Tay-Min His AI assistant, activated from the wall console. Hyun-woo, you have been unusually quiet during these negotiations. The participants seem to expect more input from you. What am I supposed to say, Taemin? I am just a farmer. I do not understand interspecies law or diplomatic protocols. Perhaps that is exactly why your input is needed, the AI replied. You are the only participant who is not trying to protect existing power structures. Han-woo was still pondering this when Nara entered the kitchen, looking frustrated and tired. The elders are now arguing about ceremonial greetings, she said, slumping into a chair. Apparently, it matters whether humans bow or shake hands when meeting pack leaders. While Captain Lee wants to know exactly how many warriors each pack is allowed to have on the property at any given time, Hyun-woo added. As if we are planning a war instead of raising children. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, watching their cubs play peacefully outside. It struck Hyun-woo that the children had already solved the problems the adults were struggling with. They communicated through gestures and play, shared food without worrying about cultural contamination, and formed friendships based on curiosity rather than suspicion. Nara, he said suddenly, what would happen if I formally requested adoption into your pack? She looked surprised. You are already considered pack by those who matter, but formal adoption. That would require ceremonies, oaths, acceptance by the Council of Elders. And what would my status be then? Full pack member. Brother to me, uncle to all cubs, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails? She paused. But also bound by pack law, subject to alpha authority in times of crisis. Hyun-woo nodded thoughtfully. And what about the reverse? What if your pack requested adoption into human colonial society? I do not think that is possible. Humans do not have adoption ceremonies for entire alien groups. No, Hyun-woo agreed. But we have incorporation laws. We have citizenship processes. We have legal frameworks for creating new communities and governing structures. He stood up abruptly, an idea taking shape in his mind. Taemin, pull up the colonial charter for this region. Specifically the sections on establishing new settlements and provisional governance. What are you thinking? Nara asked. I am thinking that both sides are approaching this wrong. They're trying to force alien concepts into human legal frameworks, or human concepts into pack law. But what if we created something entirely new? Hyun-woo walked to the barn where the negotiations were taking place. The argument inside had grown even more heated, with Elder Ki-yeon facing off against Administrator Haewon over the precise definition of territorial sovereignty. Excuse me, Hyun-woo said loudly, cutting through the debate. I have a proposal. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to him, some curious, others impatient. You are all trying to fit this situation into existing legal structures, he continued. But this situation is unique. Maybe it requires a unique solution. What do you suggest? Ki-yeon asked. Hyun-woo took a deep breath. I propose that I formally request adoption into the Silver Moon Pack under Lycanthan law. And I propose that the Silver Moon Pack apply for incorporation as a new settlement under human colonial law, with me as their human sponsor and legal representative. The silence that followed was deafening. That is, Captain Lee began, then stopped. Unprecedented, Administrator Haewon finished. Exactly, Hyun-woo replied. We create new precedent. I become a bridge between both legal systems. As an adopted pack member, I can represent human interests within pack law. As a human citizen, I can represent pack interests within colonial law. Elder Ki-yeon tilted her head thoughtfully. You would submit to pack authority, accept alpha discipline, follow our customs and traditions? Within reason, yes. Just as the pack would need to follow human colonial regulations and civil law. Jun-ho stood up from where he had been sitting with the other pack leaders. You would truly become our brother? Not just in name, but in all ways? I already am your brother, Hyun-woo replied. This would just make it official. Administrator Haewon looked skeptical. And you think colonial authorities would accept an incorporated alien settlement? With a human citizen as their legal representative? Why not? We have human settlements with elected mayors and town councils. We have agricultural cooperatives with shared ownership structures. This would be similar, just with mixed species membership. Captain Lee shook his head. The security implications alone. What security implications? Haiyan Wu interrupted. These are families, not an invasion force. They grow food, raise children, and trade with other worlds. Exactly what human settlers do. But they are armed, Captain Lee protested. So are human settlers, Junho pointed out. Do you expect us to face the dangers of frontier life without weapons? Wu Jin, who had been quiet throughout most of the negotiations, suddenly spoke up. This human solution has merit. It respects both sets of laws while creating new structures for cooperation. It would require approval from the High Council, Qian warned. Many elders will be resistant to such radical change. And it would require approval from Colonial Administration headquarters, Hei-Wan added. The legal proceeding alone will take months to establish. Then we start with a provisional agreement, Haiyan Wu suggested. A trial period to see if the concept works in practice. Over the next several hours, the debate took on a completely different character. Instead of arguing about incompatible legal systems, both sides began working together to design a hybrid structure that could satisfy everyone's needs. The adoption ceremony took place at sunset, with representatives from multiple packs witnessing, as Haiyan Wu formally swore the ancient oaths that made him a member of the Silver Moon Pack. The words were in the old Lycanthan language, but their meaning was clear: loyalty, protection, shared responsibility for all pack members. When Junho placed the traditional pack marking on Haiyan Wu's arm, a small tattoo depicting a silver moon, the human felt something fundamental shift inside him. He was no longer just an individual trying to help. He was part of something larger, with obligations and privileges that extended far beyond his farm. The incorporation papers were filed that same evening, establishing the settlement of New Moon as the first officially recognized interspecies community in colonial space. Haiyan Wu was listed as mayor and legal representative, while Junho held the title of cultural liaison and security coordinator. It will not be easy, Qian warned as the ceremony concluded. Both our peoples will question this arrangement. There will be challenges, setbacks, probably failures. But there will also be successes, Haiyan Wu replied, watching Bio Ram and Minho play with human children who had come to witness the historic event. And each success will make the next one easier. As the participants began to disperse, preparing to carry news of the agreement back to their respective governments, Nara approached Haiyan Wu with both cubs in her arms. Are you ready for this? She asked. Being pack means you are responsible for all of us now. Our successes and our failures will be yours as well. Haiyan Wu looked around at the diverse group of beings who were now his extended family. Lycanthan warriors, human farmers, alien traders, colonial officials, all of them bound together by his decision to help an injured stranger weeks ago. Ready or not, he said with a smile, this is what we are building together. In the distance, the lights of multiple encampments twinkled like stars, each one representing a family that had chosen to be part of this unprecedented experiment in interspecies cooperation. 6 months had passed since the founding of New Moon Settlement, and Haiyan Wu barely recognized his once quiet farm. What had started as a simple agricultural operation had grown into a thriving community of over 200 beings from multiple species. The original barn had been expanded into a proper community center, complete with meeting halls, educational facilities, and a medical clinic that served both human and alien residents. Haiyan Wu's sister Dasam had arrived 3 months ago, ostensibly to study Lycanthan biology, but really to help manage the complex medical needs of their diverse population. The cubs are developing faster than expected, Dasam reported during their weekly planning meeting. Both Lycanthan and human children seem to benefit from the mixed species environment. Their problem-solving skills and adaptability are remarkable. Haiyan Wu nodded, watching through the window as Bio Ram and Minho played with a group that included young humans, Lycanthans, and even a few Centaurian refugees who had arrived last month seeking sanctuary. The agricultural program is exceeding. Old projections as well, reported Insu, a young human farmer who had come to learn their integrated growing techniques. The combination of human hydroponics and lycanthropy soil enhancement has increased crop yields by 40%. Elder Ki Yan, who had remained as permanent cultural advisor, added her own observations. More importantly, we have had 0 serious conflicts between species groups. The children are growing up thinking of diversity as normal rather than threatening. The success had not gone unnoticed by the wider galaxy. Delegations from various worlds had begun arriving to study their model, hoping to replicate it elsewhere. Some came with genuine interest in peaceful coexistence. Others came with skepticism, convinced that the arrangement could not possibly. Last, we have another inspection team arriving next week, Hyun Woo announced. This one from the Terran Federation Council. They want to evaluate whether our model could work on more established worlds. Jun Ho, who had adapted to his role as security coordinator with surprising skill, looked concerned. What kind of evaluation? They want to see how we handle crisis situations, resource allocation disputes, and cultural conflicts, Hyun Woo explained. Basically, they want to see if we are just lucky or if we have actually built something sustainable. Then we show them, Nara said firmly. She had taken on the role of education coordinator, developing curricula that taught children about multiple species and cultures. We show them that cooperation is not luck, it is choice. The test came sooner than expected. 2 days later, a ship arrived carrying not inspectors but refugees. 37 beings from a mining colony that had been destroyed by corporate warfare, including humans, lycanthropes, and several species that New Moon had never dealt with before. They have nowhere else to go, the refugee ship captain explained as his passengers disembarked. Corporate security forces destroyed their settlement over mineral rights disputes. These people lost everything. Hyun Woo looked at the exhausted, frightened faces of beings who had been through unimaginable trauma. Among them were injured children, elderly individuals who could barely walk, and several species whose dietary and medical needs were completely unknown. We will take them, he said without hesitation. Hyun Woo. Captain Lee warned. The Marine officer had become a permanent liaison after the success of the original agreement. We do not have resources for this many refugees. Housing, medical care, food supplies, ... We will manage, Junho declared, backing up his Pack brother's decision. Pack law is clear. We do not turn away those who seek sanctuary. What followed was the most intense week in New Moon's short history. Every resident contributed whatever they could to accommodate the newcomers. Families doubled up in housing units. Medical personnel worked around the clock treating injuries and illnesses from species they had never encountered before. The agricultural teams worked overtime to increase food production, but more importantly, the crisis revealed the true strength of what they had built. Human engineers worked alongside lycanthropy crafters to construct emergency housing. Alien refugees with specialized knowledge shared it freely with their new neighbors. Children from established families immediately befriended refugee children, breaking down barriers through play and curiosity. Dr. Dassam found herself performing surgery on a crystalline being whose biology was completely alien to her, guided by a refugee medic who had lost his own equipment but retained his knowledge. Nara organized educational activities that helped traumatized children process their experiences while learning about their new home, the Terran. Federation inspection team arrived in the middle of this chaos, expecting to find a carefully organized demonstration of interspecies cooperation. Instead, they found a community responding to genuine crisis with remarkable effectiveness. This is not what we expected to evaluate, admitted Inspector General Park, the team leader. We came to test your theoretical frameworks. Instead, we are witnessing practical crisis management in real time. Life does not wait for convenient timing, Hyun-woo replied, directing a team of volunteers who were setting up temporary shelters. This is what cooperation actually looks like. By the end of the week, all 37 refugees had been housed, fed, and given medical attention. More importantly, they had been welcomed into the community as new residents rather than temporary guests. How did you do it? Inspector Park asked during the final evaluation meeting. 37 beings from 6 different species with various medical needs, cultural requirements, and trauma histories. You integrated them seamlessly. We did not integrate them, Elder Kiyan corrected. They integrated themselves. We simply provided the framework for it to happen. What framework? Another inspector asked. Hyun-woo looked around the room at the diverse group of beings who had become his family and neighbors. Humans, lycanthans, centaurians, crystalline collective members, and others he was still learning about. The framework is simple, he said. We assume good intentions. We share resources based on need rather than species membership. We make decisions together. And most importantly, we remember that everyone here chose to be here. That cannot be. Sufficient, Inspector Park protested. What about legal structures, conflict resolution mechanisms, resource allocation protocols? We have those too, Junho replied. But they work because they are built on the foundation Hyun-woo described. Rules without trust are just words on paper. 6 months later, the new moon model had been implemented. On 12 other worlds with varying degrees of success. Some thrived like the original. Others struggled with cultural conflicts that New Moon had managed to avoid. A few failed entirely when established power structures resisted the necessary changes.